This really is a sort of huge abstraction of volatility that the world values at $2.5 trillion today, right? That's the value of this hyper volatile asset that can move around the world at block speed, 24/7.
I'm here with Josh from Hedera Foundation. I'm very excited to be speaking with you. Like I said to you, I used to own some HBAR.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. It's great to be here. It's a wonderful event.
It's a pleasure. So a really unique foundation and not a blockchain, as you told me. So
yeah, DLT, distributed ledger technology.
Yes.
We try to think of it in that family of, the hierarchy, right? Yeah. So you have distributed ledger technology. Underneath it, you have blockchains, and then you have Hashgraph.
Okay.
And so we are a unique sort of technology in that, but enough of a relation, a cousin to blockchain, as it were.
Short of getting technical, what is the fundamental difference between?
So the thing is, it's in a blockchain, everything is getting written over and over, right? You're doing basically sets of blocks, right? This one is more of a shared. They call it gossip about gossip. It's more of a shared kind of distributed ledger. So it's not constantly writing blocks on top of blocks and multiplying across that, right? Where data needs continually expand. It's a different. It's a DAG, and I don't want to get too technical into it.
No, but maybe in terms of the use case, what is the benefit of doing it that way?
The benefit is, I think it's speed.
Okay.
So although you can build chains that are perhaps faster, we have a consistent speed to finality, which is much quicker because it doesn't have to broadcast in the same way. And we've architected with fixed fees denominated in USD, right? So you don't have the same kind of gas issue in a congested network. So we don't suffer from the same kind of congestion that, say, ETH would. I mean, I remember, when someone's cool cat broke the ETH network in 2017, right, with CryptoKitties, and you had $70.
Canadian project, by the way.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I know. Well, there's so many great things that came out of Toronto. And continue. Are you out of? Is it Toronto?
I'm from Montreal.
Okay, but yeah,
that's fine.
Okay, but
things from Montreal too.
Yeah, I know. I love Montreal, by the way. So and the Laurentides, but it's fundamental thing I think that differentiates us. And I don't know if I could say that this is really a quality of the technology, but rather how it's been architected from a governance perspective and from an economic perspective is the fixed USD fee. So no matter how many transactions are happening, how much, quote, congestion, we're still talking pennies or sub-penny for transaction costs. And that never changes. So we don't have that sort of issue of the $70 postage stamp suddenly because everyone's using the post office.
Yeah, exactly. That's ridiculous. Okay, and so the other thing that's quite unique about Hedera is the governing council, right? So, I don't remember the exact names of the companies, but you got a lot of major tech companies, and I think maybe some financial institutions
and some universities. So yes, so you look across the breadth of our governing council, and all right, so we have Google and IBM, Dell, Mondelez, right, Oreos on the blockchain, so to speak. Arrow Electronics out of I think they're headquartered out of Denver. Okay. So you have this wide range of industrial, also tech companies that are on the governing council. And then you look at banks, Nomura Bank, Standard Chartered Bank. No, these are non-U.S. banks, but still they bring a lot of perspective and depth into the governing council. And then we have universities on there as well. So there's the think tank part, there's the financial governance part, and then there's sort of the enterprise use case part. So it creates a great governance model, right, where representatives from those companies are actually the ones who are voting on all the governance issues and improvements to the protocol and changes to fees and things like that, and they're running the nodes. So folks know, okay, this node is not being run out of OFAC country. It's actually being run by this enterprise. And so I think that gives a great amount of confidence in the network to continually settle transactions, continually process, and keep a productive structure around the chain.
And that's almost completely unique in the digital assets.
I think maybe Canton is running something similar, although I can't even name their governing council or their governance model.
You would be the most prominent one.
I think we are, and we've been around the longest in that way. Yeah. And these are terms that expire and have to be renewed, and so they're it's not permanent. It's not like the UN Security Council, but it is. They do stay for many years. I mean, many of them have been on there for a great number of years.
So in terms of the use case, what are you guys most applying yourself to? Let's say.
So I think some of the most popular elements of our that have been built upon the Hedera network, which we touched on, which is ESG related, right? Because we think about carbon credits and how do we validate them? How do we keep them from being there's all the original double spend issue that was solved by Bitcoin white paper. But so carbon credit tracking, other ESG elements, and why part of it is because of the super low energy cost of the network being proof of stake, and also the fast throughput, and we're one of the greenest, right? So I air quote that because what's the measurement, but really that's one of the highest quality parts of our network is the ESG component of it, and then secondarily, RWA, real world assets, the famous RWA acronym. What does that even mean? Well, I think with our institutional relations with our governing council, it's much more likely that folks in that space will say, okay, well, if we're going to use a chain, and even though we're not a chain, we're a DAG, but if we're going to use a DLT to tokenize these particular financial assets, why don't we use something where we know what the governance structure is? We know the entities that are going to be running these transactions and that they will actually settle, because that is part of the model. I think that gives us great appeal and great entry space into RWA, into the tokenization of the world.
Right. What do you think will end up being tokenized and not tokenized, and why?
Whoa. Okay. So,
broadly,
No, I know. Listen, there's been so much talk over the years. We're going to tokenize concert tickets. Wouldn't that be great? I'm going to see Taylor Swift. I have the NFT. That's the concert ticket. She can reach through to all her fans who went on the tour, and drop them an NFT that gives them access to a song that no one else can access. It's one of those things like, that's a great use case. We haven't seen it implemented. So I think those things creatively are out there, but what's actually going to get executed? So we go back to, what do we think the first things from an RWA perspective? It's really, don't we want to be able to trade and settle equities 24/7? Right? Maybe it's some sort of, and I don't think fractionalized real estate's going to be the first one. I think it's going to be more fractionalized equities that can be settled. We live in a 24/7 world, right?
We've already seen Kraken, Robinhood kind of start to dip their toes in that.
And that's what I think is you'll have this convergence of all the platforms. Just like Coinbase has now launched prediction markets.
Yes.
So like if you look at Polymarket and Kalshi, that's where all the retail is gone. They're all trading gold, silver, or betting on the outcome of the Super Bowl. Crypto has sort of lost its retail allure, so we need to bring all those pieces back in and find a way, to use the power of DLT and in settlement and immutability, and still appeal to these new systems that are coming out.
Okay, very interesting. And what do you think will not be tokenized? What do you think should not be tokenized?
Oh wow, yeah, and that's an interesting question. I was thinking about last night, and I have these random thoughts about your future revenue stream from your labor, is something. Why couldn't I tokenize the output for my personal income and my personal labor? After all, we're all just trading our finite time for these units of value, right?
Yeah.
Money is effectively portability of future consumption, right? It's just delayed consumption. Why can't I tokenize my life? So those are things that I don't know that they'll go tokenized. But I think real estate is always this holy grail. Why can't we just tokenize a building? I think we're ways out from that. I think there's other ways. There's REITs. Yeah. Are REITs going to be tokenized? I think eventually it seems to take a lot longer because they're financial products. But I think the soonest things are going to be related to ESG and corporate governance around ESG goals, and then probably equities, which are already underway. Right, these markets are already existing, like you mentioned.
Yeah, there's a great article making the rounds right now on X, if you haven't seen it yet, written by an AI engineer who talks about, how the pace of evolution in AI is far greater than 99% of the population, maybe even you and I included, realize.
Oh yeah.
And he makes this point that currently AI is building the new AI, and so now it's really going to. He says we're basically just at an inflection point, but we're going to see exponential growth. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for digital assets?
AI is eventually going to exchange value with other AI agents. Yeah. Agents will be exchanging value with agents.
Right.
Are they going to use
stable coins?
Yeah, they're going to use a fiat-based system that settles between 9 and 5 only on days that aren't holidays or weekends.
Yeah.
And the answer is why they won't. Oh. Right? They're going to need something that's independent of the AI agents. That's usually native, but validated through decentralized governance model, right? And so I think AI will exchange value in that way. So Claude is writing up code, spinning up these agents. I have a personal agent needs to exchange with some platform. It's going to use something that's tokenized. I think that's one of the great frontier cases. And I think, like you said, it's accelerating faster than people realize.
So you see that being a benefit to digital assets?
Absolutely.
An accelerant.
Yeah, because AI is not going to be constrained by sovereign fiat. right? Because it's also going to be post-sovereign AI. I mean, this may or may not be the detriment of the human race. It depends what Twitter feed you're reading with all these developers that are like, well, I'm going back to writing poetry in the backwoods. You know, you saw that one? Yeah. I'm moving to Little Cayman. You know, I'm not going to collect rainwater.
I mean, a lot of big tech entrepreneurs saying, you know what?
I keep thinking I'm going to go fully analog when I retire, whenever that might be. I'm going to get me one of those jitterbug flip phones, and you're going to be T9ing people, you know? I don't have, that's not very analog. Analog would be going back to the rotary phone.
That's true. Well, it's pretty, by then it'll be
writing letters, yeah.
Final question for you. What's your surest prediction about the future of digital assets? And do you have like a contrarian, perhaps high conviction, or hopefully high conviction?
I'm like the biggest Bitcoin.
What is your lowest conviction? Is there something that people around you, people in the community, often don't realize that you are pretty sure is going to happen?
I think I often come across as perhaps a Bitcoin maxi, and I sometimes am, right? Because that's the original use case. It's like
given the role you're in. I mean,
well, you know, everything other than Bitcoin is a analog of it, right? It all exists because of the original white paper. And so when I think of Bitcoin as the reserve currency of the digital asset ecosystem. So, you know, we used to joke at ShapeShift with each other, what is that in sats? What does that mean? People are like, well, what it means is don't tell me what ETH is in dollars. Tell me what it is in Bitcoin. It goes back to an old joke, and I have to attribute this to someone I worked with at ShapeShift. He said that all projects other than Bitcoin are just Rube Goldberg machines to make more sats. And hopefully the audience look up what a Rube Goldberg machine is, right?
Yeah.
But that's an interesting statement. So I'm not like a crazy maxi. The other thing is Eric Voorhees once got asked. I remember someone asked him, when are you going to cash out? Right? You know, he's like, I did out of fiat. And so I think about some of these things, and you start to say, well, that guy's a little bit more on the edge than I thought. I mean, I've given 10 years to this ecosystem. Yeah. It's like a lifetime, and it's like dog years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a real conviction. You know, that's an unknown conviction.
It's not.
It is. I think I said this earlier too. I come up with some things when I'm live on the talk, but you know, you think about equities. And people look at it, they say enterprise value is, you know, the cash flows of Google, right?
Yeah.
They have future cash flow projections. We're going to value the equity here. And there's this slice of volatility on the stock that people trade, and that creates the movement every day in the market. People are trading derivatives on it and so on. But then you flip it, and crypto is actually inverted. It's all volatility and very little, I would say, not enterprise use case, but fundamentals, right? So you tell me, what are the fundamentals? It's like the quality of the project. What's the fundamentals of, say, HBAR, and is built on the network, the governing council, things of that nature. But so much of the value is based on volatility. And I think maybe that's the piece that people don't talk about much, is that this really is a sort of huge abstraction of volatility that the world values at $2.5 trillion today. Right? That's the value of this hyper volatile asset that can move around the world at block speed. You know, 24/7.
Yeah, I love it. That was a great insight. Thank you very much, John.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
With you. Yeah,
yes.
I enjoyed this
Thank you.